Hello and welcome to the show. My name is John Richardson and you are listening or watching the Richardson's Rubicon podcast. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is really some of the episodes that I've had recently with lifetime deals for things, including Sessions, which is a product that came out last year or the year before, can't recall really, but I know I got the LTD for it and started to integrate it straight away into many of my websites. So, and it's a great product, I've got to say. It certainly has a great future on it. So I just want to see if you can probably see this. This is the elephant in the room, and we'll be talking more about the elephant in the room as the day progresses. So yeah, LTD deals, what are they? Well, basically, they are a way for people who have got perhaps a new product to gain a huge amount of capital straight off the bat by selling lifetime access to their deal, their product, I should say, for the lifetime of the product, which is important to note that that is separate and distinct from your lifetime. So anyway, enough said about that. I will go on to one of the next slides, which goes into it in a little bit more detail. So these are the reasons to buy LTDs. So they offer various benefits. So if you're it gives you a cost saving. As a person who buys an LTD, you get a cost saving. You generally avoid recurring subscription fees, which in turn leads you to have significant long-term financial savings. So therefore, it makes it easy for you to budget for other things. So if you get an LTD in something for, I don't know, a WordPress plugin, for example, you know, you need not worry about it again. You don't have to pay the 80 quid or $80 a year for that to keep a support license going. You should have that support with an LTD, for example. So the other benefit to people who buy LTDs would be early adopter benefits. So you often get all the future updates and improvements at no extra cost. And it also ensures that the product remains up to date and continues to meet your needs without additional investment. So that's all very good. I mean, it sounds amazing, doesn't it? If you can get something for, I don't know, $70, $80, $90, which lasts you as long as the product lasts, which is normally a good length of time, then it's a bargain. Ownership and control. So basically you get continued use of this, therefore the stability of it, and if it's for a critical tool or software, then you know you've got it. It's a certainty that you've got there. Risk mitigation is another thing. It's a way to secure these essential tools for a one-time fee, so the financial risk is gone. If the prices go up, you've mitigated that risk because you've already paid it, and you don't have to worry about increasing costs on that level. And also you will get incentives and bundles to purchase an LTD. Many times they come with additional perks like extra seats or premium features or integrations that aren't generally available on other, regular subscription models. So there's a load of benefits that you can get for having an LTD. Now, that might be so. It might be beneficial for you to have all of these things, but, you know, doesn't it sound too good to be true? Well, it probably is. So let's see why these founders and whatnot actually offer LTDs, because, you know, there's got to be a reason for that as well. What do they get out of this whole deal? Well, they get early revenue. So they get quick upfront capital, like I mentioned before. It helps with the momentum and also increasing, addressing any urgent financial needs that they may have. It quickly allows them to build a large user base, very, very, massively. Gives you a huge growth. It's vital for market penetration, and it ensures that the product gains traction and more traction as the network effect, starts. It increases your brand awareness. So if you're promoting on a platform like AppSumo, honestly, that's a global audience. You'd be an idiot not to promote on AppSumo, I have to say, if you've got an LTD. It really does help you and make you distinct and stand out in a crowded market. Feedback and iteration. Early adopters provide valuable feedback. They help founders refine and improve the product more effectively. And if you leverage this user insight, you can actually go through rapid iterations of your product, making it better and better and better and become a real market leader. Offering an LTD also shows a confidence in the product's future. So what you're saying by offering an LTD is that you're going to stick around. We'll come on to that a bit later. But that is generally what you're saying when you offer an LTD. What are the pitfalls of all of this? Well, look at them. They are many. So, one of the main things is really the sustainability issue. So without continuous growth or revenue, operational costs become unsustainable and you could end up losing the product and the LTD buyers are impacted. And we're going to have a look at something like Sessions, for example, where, Sessions was a fantastic product made available for LTD. It was a video conferencing webinar tool with lots of other products sort of built into it as well. So it massively saved you a huge number of subscriptions on several levels. However, it was also being known as the Zoom replacement or a replacement for Zoom. And that had a number of benefits and a number of drawbacks, one of which was everybody knows what the Zoom subscription price is. And it wasn't until recently that the subscription price on a monthly and annual basis was set for Sessions, it seems. And it was not competitive in my view. And so that alone would have caused issues, because if you're known in the marketplace to be a replacement for Zoom and you charge more, well, you can't afford to have any bugs or issues, can you? So that was one of the things. The other thing about LTDs is that the support can get overwhelmed. And some of the LTD buyers aren't necessarily the greatest buyers in the world. They do tend to expect a lot for very little, and they are quite noisy, I've got to say, judging, that's only my own experience from seeing them and seeing them on various support forums and seeing the behaviours that are there. And also they do tend to try and morph a product into their own vision of what a product should be. Now, there's a place for that, but if it doesn't track with your strategic planning for the product, then there's no place for that. So again, and that leads on to the misalignment of user expectations, where, it might lead to potential dissatisfaction and potential reputational harm. But if you are firm on what it is you are offering, right, then that should not be an issue. If you start to scope creep your own product, then you've created a problem yourself. So that's one of the potential pitfalls there. Also, this revenue that was raised with LTDs, if you don't have proper sustainability, if you haven't looked after all of your existing overheads and also calculated in the overheads that would be caused by a huge uptick in numbers, then you're going to be in trouble. So it's really important to have the monthly revenue sorted out for your product. And of course, you've got the risk of early closure as a result of all of these or any of these things going wrong, which we're ultimately seeing shortly. So, and talking about the stages of grief and acceptance because we are losing an LTD, or appears to be, We're now at, where are we? Let's have a look. I'll just switch this on so you can see this. There we go. So this is the Kubler-Ross model for acceptance of grief and all that sort of jazz. And you can see denial, you know, that lasts for about 4 days. Oh no, I can't possibly be losing this product. And then quickly sort of dissipates. It turns swiftly into anger by about day 2. It's like, how come I've been swindled out of this LTD? It's all so wrong. And that disappears after a few days. Bargaining is when you start thinking, well, you know, do you really, I could give you $10 a month if you keep it on. You know, can you do that, please? You know, that comes in around about, I don't know, day 5. And then you've got depression, where it's like, I suppose I better just sort of unwire this product from my sort of business infrastructure and move on. And acceptance is when you finally do move on. Now, all of these things take time and they happen at various different intensity levels. I think a lot of us are probably at the bargaining or depression stage of the potential loss of sessions. And as we're not probably going to get a result until 11th of October, where AppSumo have mentioned that they will give some people refunds and credits according to their purchase policy. And kind of like the bargaining thing's been taken away from us, that stage will have long passed by then, and people will probably just accept what they're given as a result of that. Now then, back to this elephant in the room. What do you think? I mean, it's a great picture, but I mean, what does it mean? So, in my view, I think the elephant in the room is significant because there have been a number of LTDs that sort of, as I mentioned earlier, you know, run down the clock, go past beyond a refund or, well, any refund date really, and seemingly expire. Now, I'm certainly not saying that this is the case with Sessions. I mean, in my view, Sessions was an amazing product and rightly chosen as an AppSumo Select. It is, I mean, I just think something's gone horribly wrong with Sessions, in fairness. I don't particularly think that we're being deliberately swindled. I just think it's been handled very, very poorly. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But when you are purchasing an LTD, this elephant needs to be not only in your room, but in your head. So you've got to exercise a degree of caution around what it is that you are purchasing, why it is you are purchasing it, what realistic expectations you have for its lifetime, and is it worth the risk to your business or organisation? This is the risk profile of buying an LTD. So you can see the severity of risk goes off the chart there. I'm afraid actually I didn't have enough room on here and I'm not very good at formatting, so I do apologise. But feature stagnation and over-reliance on LTD revenue are quite high there, but they're the lowest. Support overload, that's a big thing. Lack of development, and that's normally caused by the over-reliance on LTD revenue. And then, of course, right at the bottom there, the big thing is early closure. So what should these founders do to try and resolve these situations? What can they do? Well, here's some things that they can do. They can plan a long-term revenue. So you've got to diversify your revenue streams. You can do it through premium add-ons, upselling different services, have new product launches to ensure ongoing growth and cover operational costs. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with a discounted monthly subscription to accompany the LTD. Just a thought. You've also got to control operational costs, so keep those costs down where you can and outsource where you can. Also, what's the harm in limiting the LTD numbers as well? Now then, if you're going in for a terrifyingly straightforward money grab, you wouldn't want to necessarily do that. But if I was an LTD buyer, I'd be quite interested in those that were limiting the LTDs, because that tells me that they're being serious about this and it adds value to the LTD as well. So if they're limiting the numbers, it tells me they're trying to organise their finances. That's what it tells me. And that can only be a good thing. And the other thing that the founders can do is commit to the regular updates that they promise, and also continually develop the product. And why I say that is so that they can have new facilities that could potentially be added on. Now then, I know a lot of LTD buyers say, oh, all upgrades should be included, everything else. Well, yeah, to an extent, I agree with that, because if you include all of the upgrades within an LTD offer, that are coming in the future, you've just given away your chance for additional revenue as a founder. So I wouldn't necessarily want to do that. I'd want to have some little add-ons, which are optional, not part of the core deal that you offered, right? So no one can really argue, but I would definitely keep them, to one side to charge a little bit more to protect my monthly income. I mean, why wouldn't you want to protect your monthly income? It's just one of those things that you want to do. So, as a user, what would you want to do? Well, first of all, you'd want to assess the company viability. You'd want to research the company's financial health, have a look at the business model, their track record for sustainability with the product. You want to try and check funding from public sources, and you want to check the reviews and community feedback. You'd also want to evaluate the product maturity. Now then, there's a couple of products that are on AppSumo that have clearly just come out of the starting gate, and they are already, some are as buggy as hell, right? They're just really not ready for launch, never mind alpha test. So you want to have established products with a proven user base and reliability over these new untested options, and that'll reduce the abandonment risks. And there are a couple of products out there. I'm not going to name any in particular because I don't want to be sued, but out of the starting gate, didn't work properly. Everybody gave them 5-star reviews for some unknown reason. And essentially, you can see from the support forum that there is no support, there is no further development. It's just being left to wither on the vine. So, what else can you do basically to mitigate risk? You can consider backup solutions. So, have some contingency plans in place. So, for example, my podcast, I like to have a video conferencing solution. I want to have a booking system to get guests in, and I also want to have a calendar system. I want to have messages notifying people of reminders and things like that. So, Sessions was absolutely ideal for me. Absolutely ideal. I had all the boxes ticked. However, I've also got a backup solution, and that would be the Amelia WordPress plugin, which is on a previous LTD, and that serves my purpose as a booking system and a calendar system and a messaging and notification system. In terms of webinar and video conferencing, I've got Wave Video, which is also very good, and that was a previous LTD. So at least I've got something to fall back on if things with Sessions don't work out. However, I'd much rather, of course, have the premium product, which I see as Sessions. The other thing that you would want to do is check refund policies as well. So basically, review the refund or compensation policies of the LTD on the platform to ensure protections you get are good enough if it fails early. And I think as consumers, we're going to have to be a little bit more boisterous about this because some of the protections aren't good enough, and some of the behaviour of LTD founders or offerers, if you like, are do seem to deliberately run down the clock, it seems. So yeah. And this and this is why, people in their right mind would look at this and think, good grief, obviously they didn't intend to lose this. I mean, look at this. So this was taken from a screenshot of a Discord channel where you can see it for yourself. Just read it. Hey, Marie, missed our lifetime deal campaign this Black Friday? We've got you covered. We're extending the campaign so everybody gets a chance to get a lifetime access to sessions for as low as $69. Just think about it. Someday you could pass sessions down to your grandkids. I mean, I don't know whether it's excellent marketing or the intent was genuinely there for generational LTD, but there you have it in black and white. So, so what on earth could AppSumo do to help the founders? Well, I decided to put a little bit of a thought together and come up with some bits and bobs for them, because obviously they need some help, and I think a marketplace leader such as AppSumo would have the resources to be able to do this. So, a revenue diversification workshop. So, assist founders in adding multiple revenue streams, such as upselling premium features to their products. So AppSumo should really take more of a prominent role in terms of development, I think. Strategic LTD limits. So AppSumo should be talking to founders about setting limits on LTD sales, right, to protect the future MMR growth by controlling the lifetime licenses. If AppSumo are making reportedly 70% of their sales split, if you like, from LTDs, then they should really take a more active role. They should also help founders by looking at long-term MMR focus and, act as a consultancy, if you like, to help these founders generate more income. We want people to succeed. AppSumo should want people to succeed. And I'm sure they do some stuff, but it's not really that visible to us. So, let's see some visibility of this, please. Post-LTD subscription transitions. So, what about shifting LTD users to paid plans or introducing new subscription models up front? I'm not talking about now on various other things, but I'm talking about, how to make that an option up front. So say, for instance, you've got an LTD and it's for the new whiz-bang software solution, and you've got the LTD for, say, 2 years, and perhaps then you go into a subscription model, which is part of the LTD. It's discounted heavily. Right? Or maybe have an LTD where you've got great access and a substantially discounted subscription model. All sorts of ways you could do that. All sorts of ways. But give them guidance according to what their business needs are and according to what will work with the LTD market for consumers. And teach them how to upsell premium features without being absolutely annoying or coming across as a complete rip-off. So that's what AppSumo could do to help. And that's all about product management. And I think I was speaking to a lady who was a product manager, and I think she will look at this and she'll say, well, I do this, I already do that. Maybe that's a good idea. So we'll see what actually happens with that. But what can they do for the buyers? Well, they could actually extend their product monitoring. So we could actually have periodic updates on the product developments from the AppSumo platform itself, so that there's some sort of, I don't know what you would call it, overview? Would you call it an overview of the various products that were available on AppSumo. So they're not just going for the swift sale, the 60-day refund window, monitoring selects and whatnot for a year to make sure they're working or not. And that basically, there's a little bit more going on there. AppSumo could really position itself in some way as a force for good in the business world if it sort of did many of these things. Also, we would want to see, or they might want to see, some transparency on the MMR growth. So they should require disclosure of the MMR trends and growth projections versus their overhead costs pre-LTD launch to actually reduce the risk that an LTD might inflict upon a business. I am not privy to any of the information that they may already get, but it seems like a good idea to me. Long-term community insights, so a review system for long-term product feedback. So what I'm talking about here is, at the minute, you're only allowed one review, right? So you can be ecstatic within, 3 weeks of your product purchase and everything's rosy, and then all of a sudden, right, it might not be. So I would, say about a year down the line. So I would really want to see a 2-stage or maybe a 3-stage review process on AppSumo where you can track it over a period of time. So you've got your initial review, you've got your midlife review, you want to call it, at the end of a year. And then basically another review where it's not going to get refused by moderators, and it just tells the truth. It just says this product eventually ended. There's no harm in that. It's transparency. I don't think it's any reflection on AppSumo, really, but it does tell people that that product and that founder weren't necessarily, the best at implementing an ongoing business for the long term. And controversially, post-purchase flexibility. So this is shifting a little bit more towards AppSumo, and I doubt they'll accept it, but buyback options. AppSumo credits at various rates for discontinued or unsupported products. So there needs to be some sort of flexibility rather than, well, you've had it for 12 months and it's gone. Bye. You've got to have something a bit more than that. You've got to have something that gives consumer faith. You've got to have something that says that AppSumo have done a bit of due diligence, right? They've been transparent, and basically the products that they've got on there aren't necessarily with full risk. There's some shared risk, especially if AppSumo are gaining 70% of the sales revenue share. And that's it, really. That's my big plan. I hope you like it. It's a bit of work, isn't it? I don't know what's going to happen now. I'm waiting now for October the 11th to determine if we're going to get any refunds yet for sessions, or the best option, sessions stays open for the long term. And I mean long term. I don't mean 2 months after the end date. I mean long term. Because if sessions fails like 2 or 3 months after the end date, it has just been kicked into the long grass. But if sessions goes on for longer and we'll get some deep, heartfelt, heavy heart apologies from various people saying that, things went a bit wrong, absolutely sorry, we've been reinvigorated, we've got a new plan to generate MRR and all of that jazz, then I'd be supremely happy, and I'm suppose around about 3,000 other people would be too. Because that's what everybody wants. They want a working product and they want basically value. So there's my two pence worth. If you want to write into the show, you can do. You can reach me at john@richardsonsrubicon.com, and you can also join the forum and leave some messages in the forum there at richardsonsrubicon.com, and you can also leave a voicemail at the same website. And if session stays alive, you'll be able to book in a call, and we can just have a fireside chat about a subject of your own wanting, because that's great, and that's what the new podcast is about. It's called Pick Your Passion, and you talk about something that you actually want to talk more about and you might have an interest in, and I learn more from you, and I think that'll be a fantastic opportunity and quite entertaining, actually. But this one was just about me, this one. Hopefully it was informative and that you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.